Okay, everybody, and I'm back, and it's a really, really exciting day for me. And I know I always keep saying this, Laurie. I keep saying that it's the most exciting day, but it really is. Every new day for me is an exciting day to be able to get to talk to such incredible individuals, powerhouse minds in the e-commerce realm. But joining me today is Laurie Appleman, the co-founder of Redline Minds, a full-service e-commerce agency. Laurie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I think I'm suffering a little bit from the internal limitations that all of us are going through at the moment.
A little bit of cabin fever.
Oh gosh, which is amazing because I do have 2 physical offices, but I work from home most of the time because
Right.
my crew likes to work that way. So I don't know why it's just felt really different, but it has. And I would maybe because I'm not getting the opportunity to go run crazy through the woods and things like that. So, but yeah, I'm ready to get out.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I'm getting really sick of my backyard,
Yeah.
and the long walks every day. Just to get some fresh air. And I'm in New York, so it was a monsoon yesterday. We couldn't get out. It was like another one of those like, oh my God, please, this is just not the right time for this.
You got the weather we got Saturday.
Oh wow, okay. Where are you out of again?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, it is today. It's gorgeous.
Well, I know it's like, and obviously, if everybody's watching the news, that it's been some crazy weather going on in the world, and especially in the United States, we had tornadoes and all kinds of horrible storms coming in, and we up here in the Northeast, we just get like that tail end of it, and it hits us with a time. But we had massive 14,000 people or so out of power here on Long Island. I know we had people on our staff that were calling in and just saying like there's no power in my entire town, and it was
Wow.
trees taking out national grid lines. I mean, it was a bit of a disaster, but you know what? Everybody's back online. It's a sunny day out again. I love it. It's beautiful. And I have you to join me for today as well, which is even better. Now, Laurie, you and I got acquainted on the BigCommerce community on Facebook. And you are probably, if not truly, I would say you are the most active individual in that community, and you share such incredible insight. You help so many different retailers with just a bevy, a plethora of you literally hit every issue and every suggestion I could possibly imagine. You're so active in that community. Tell me a little bit about how you got started, how Redline Minds got started. Where did this all begin for you in the e-commerce world?
Well, I mean, I had already migrated into the Internet of Things. Go back about 20 years. I was working for a company trying to design a technology platform that was going to allow investors to manage all of their different financial professionals and portfolios. And interestingly enough, while that company's gone, E-Trade's come pretty close. But so I started out in content, online with content and content marketing. I used to work for a company called Multex Investor, also out of New York City. My office was 3 blocks from the World Trade Center.
Hey.
When it went kaboom. Fortunately, I had just moved to Texas, so we were safe. My mother would have had a heart attack if her grandbabies had been in Manhattan. We wouldn't have lived in Manhattan. Nobody with kids lives in Manhattan. But we either would have been out on Long Island or up, and I was looking at Nyack and taking
beautiful town.
Because I like the woods and the historical. And anyway, that's just me. I'm a native of New York, so I actually like most of New York. But anyway, we opted instead to stay where there was no snow, and where the cost of living is a fraction of what you're paying.
Yes, indeed.
And moved to Austin, Texas in 2001. So anyway, fast forward a few years, a couple of different things occurred, and I ended up having for lack of you want honesty, I had a business failure.
Hey, that's
primarily.
important. Pivoting, fail beautifully, as I always say.
Well, yeah, I was running a local outdoor and adventure and activity club that was subscription based. And we had a couple of things occur within a very short time window. Number one was somebody got a hold of the bank account and drained it. And
Oh.
yeah. And as I was trying to regroup how to recover from that, Meetup was born, which was going to reduce the willingness for people to spend $25, $35 a month to have us plan out their events and their activities, when Meetup was showing promise to do that for free. And I also had a relationship melt and needed to get out there and earn income. So I took a job working for a local e-commerce company here. And he was one of those rags to riches stories where he started this side gig in his spare bedroom. And I was his first full-time hire. And I came in initially and did a lot. I mean, I did everything. I did purchasing. I did negotiations with suppliers. This was mostly drop ship. But this was not the stereotype you see today where people are drop shipping things from China. These were all major brand, local, or I should say primarily US-based companies that were willing to ship customized product to our audiences. And I taught him how to write great content. Back when SEO wasn't even really identified as SEO, I figured out real quickly that if you wrote compelling, interesting content, if you covered all the points, because even back then we knew the average shopper visits several sites before they make a purchasing decision. So my goal with product descriptions was to answer all their questions so they had no reason to go someplace else. And if you do that,
tip number one.
Yeah, not only do you potentially create something that encourages more purchase, but you're also using all the language and hitting all the dotting the I's and crossing the T's from a natural semantic language SEO standpoint. So to this day, that site that I worked on does very, very well. He's well into 5 figures. I don't know exactly how much he's doing, but trust me, most store owners would love to get to the point where he's at. He's got his own brands, and he's just taken off and run with it. And because one of the neat things about working with a company at that level was, while I didn't own the store, I got to see the A to Z end of the value chain. You know, what are you doing from acquiring products to marketing products to building out your operation, choosing software, logistics. I never did do the pack and ship. That's the only part of the business I didn't do. But along the way, I gained all these skills that, that translated into making me. Initially, I just thought I was a good marketer, but in the end, a few years back, I figured out that, I'm self-taught. I figured out, when I got into companies where I finally could work with other people who had more experience than I did, that I actually sometimes knew more than they did. Not on everything, but on a lot of things. And that I really had developed significant expertise. So after working for 3 really Austin's worst startups, of which one is completely gone, 2 are essentially gone. They exist, but in a fraction of where they
floating,
were.
Right.
That I didn't really like risking my financial security on one unstable company, that it made more sense to work as an agency and work with a lot of different companies. While I have some experience working with companies that are into 5 figures, the majority of my history has been with smaller companies and rapidly growing companies, and that's where my strength lies. I mean, if Nike came to me and said, come be our e-commerce director, I would be incredibly flattered, but I'm probably not well trained to run an operation of that size. So, it's a different skill set. And I think there's a point in life where you really need to figure out where your a big fish. And for me, that's in the small and mid-tier e-commerce companies. So over the years since then, I've worked with a lot of different companies and built a lot of different stores that manage anything from direct to consumer, multi-brand resellers selling to consumers, businesses who sell to other businesses, and brands that sell to both retail and wholesale audiences. So I've got a really diverse background there. We still do offer a range of marketing services, but as I've become busier, I'm begun to hire people to replace me in those capacities and have eliminated some services until I have those hires. For example, I don't do ad management anymore because if you're going to do it well, it's very time consuming. And
Yes.
I don't currently, I'll refer out at this point when we hire somebody or partner with somebody to provide those services. I'll add that back to our menu. The strength of Redline has to do with, number one, I'm a conversion optimization whiz. I know what works to get people to buy on a site, from the navigation flow to, again, the product descriptions we talked about, to understanding your customer, defining your messaging, and that and an extensive experience with most of the major shopping carts, and a few you probably haven't heard of, has led me to also create an experience. I mean, I can talk to a store owner for an hour and say, okay, this platform is going to be the most sense for what you're trying to accomplish. And because you want to do email marketing and you want to do advertising and you probably need marketing pop-ups and you want to serve your customer support, and we have inventory management issues. So over the years, I've built up an expertise in the ecosystem that exists within e-commerce, which is why you see me answering a lot of questions. It's because I've been doing this a really long time. I've worked with many, many scenarios, and I'm also, I'm both a creative and, while I didn't actually finish my engineering degree, I finished all but 2 courses of an electrical engineering degree, so I'm technical. So for me, the key characteristic of an engineer is they like to solve puzzles.
Yes.
And so when it comes to building a tech stack, that's all playing with jigsaw puzzles and figuring out, which is the right piece to go right here. And I think a lot of, especially those new to e-commerce, are a little surprised to find out there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
And when it comes to shopping carts, certainly the 2 big ones that are popular in the small and medium market are Shopify and BigCommerce. We work with both. And they really expect these carts to do everything. And you can do almost everything with them. They each have limitations. But in order to do that, you have to put together your own jigsaw puzzle. Right. And, when e-commerce started, a shopping cart was really basic. It was a bunch of categories that showed off product pages and a shopping cart that took the money. And everything else had to be built around it. And to a degree, that still exists when you get into the open source world. WooCommerce doesn't stand alone. It has to be built into WordPress.
Yes.
If you're working with any other open source cart, some of them have a little deeper content management system, some of them have none. It's all about setting up your store and your business the way it works best for you and for your customers. And, so that's kind of, I would say, one of our key differentiators as a firm is quite honestly what's in my head from doing this for nearly 20 years, in terms of what pieces play nice and go here. It's planning the technology so that you can grow without having to re-platform. Because if you start on the wrong shopping cart, and we see a lot of people, especially when you're money strapped, they'll go, oh, I can set up on Squarespace or Wix and, and do it myself. And yeah, you can. You absolutely can. You're going to outgrow it. And if you don't, then you're probably not staying open. So, it's planning so that you can do it right, even if you do it on a scaled back version to start, and then add the pieces. When do you add the pieces? Which pieces do you add? A lot of, especially new store owners, don't realize that there's inventory management systems and product information management systems, and all kinds of back end technology that can help them better run their operations. But that doesn't mean they should start with those programs from day one, because then they're spending money on things they don't yet need.
Right.
So, and the second differentiator as a firm is it's one of our core values, is that we believe in efficiency, and that's really, everybody has a limit on the time and money. Those are your two main assets when you set up a business, are the availability of your time or your team's time, and the cash you have to spend. So if we can streamline your business to use either or both of those as efficiently as possible, there's more money for marketing, and you must market to grow.
Yes.
There's still a sad misconception out there that you can just put up a website that's basically not much more than a catalog of products. And I do site critiques all the time, and the probably 95%
it's more common than you would
are terrible. Yeah. 95% of the new stores I see that are new businesses are awful. And they're not going to last. I think one of the stock analysts said Shopify had a 97% first year turn. And that's because of their wild popularity. They've been popular with new people who want to start a business on a shoestring. And then you go to Quora or you go to Reddit and you see questions like, how come I don't have any traffic, or Shopify's not sending me any traffic, or
right. So the way I've seen it is that, and this is, I don't necessarily think it's Shopify's fault. I think it's the market's fault. Is they've painted Shopify as a marketplace, as a actual store, as opposed to, so it's when it's measured, and how they measure something, they measure against Amazon and Walmart and other retailers, or even eBay, for example. I've seen those charts, I don't know how many times. But there's a misconception there, obviously, because it's a platform for hosting a website, and then when they gauge that based on the amount of GMV that's running through their entire portfolio, that 97% winds up being what we call these gym memberships. Essentially, is that every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks they can just set up a store and start getting traffic. And I've run into this before. I've had a friend of mine who was even given, like, his father bought him a Shopify subscription as a birthday present. Like, here, start your own e-commerce business. And he got, like, Laurie, he got like 90% of the way there. He was so close. He was a fantastic photographer. He got a really great drop shipping app to drop ship frames. And then he would just put his photography in these frames, and it was all New York parks and beautiful landscapes, and he did a really great job with it. I helped him just a little bit here and there with what I could, but he got to the end and he was like, I don't know how to make money with this thing. Well, it seems to be more common than I would think, and I agree. There's this it's an unfortunate remnant of just when e-commerce began, is that people thought they could just spin up a website and just start making money.
Well, and they could, but they didn't have the competition that they have now. Right. And it isn't Shopify's fault. I agree with you there. But there's, what I see are the stock analysts, and I guess consumers don't completely understand that they're looking at an entire industry sector, and Shopify is public, so it's absolutely a stock that gets evaluated. And I've actually commented on more than a few articles, that keep comparing Shopify to Amazon, and it really, I mean, maybe Shopify plans to become a marketplace. It isn't a terrible idea, but I certainly haven't heard any rumblings to that effect. And you just have, I mean, everybody wants a quick get rich quick scheme. That and the diet pill that takes off 40 pounds in a month without changing my lifestyle is all, these are the fantasies of humans. And there's always, and of course, in both cases, there are businesses who've popped up with that promise, and they're just taking people's money for garbage. And so that still exists. But in any case, then you get into the fact that people, because these platforms are pretty feature rich to begin with, they still think it should meet every possible scenario, and it doesn't. And I think that's where it really helps to work with somebody who can figure out which way is the best way to go.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And whether that could be more than one person, you know what I mean? That could be a design and build firm. That could be a marketing platform. That could be an app for customer loyalty. It's a substantial, and like you said, you don't necessarily need to start with everything. But you do need the core. You need the elements. You need the beautiful website that has an incredible user experience, that has a clean navigation and a secure checkout. And it's a site that's attractive, and there's a good there's a good structure to your homepage, and then your category pages are lined up correctly. There's you don't have like these random categories with 0 products in them, so people go to them and go, where are the lawn chairs, but again, you don't necessarily need everything. You do need the great experience, and then you need a way to get people to that great experience,
which is really a big deal, because the two of the big things I see missing in new stores are, number one, they have not taken the effort to identify who their customer is.
Yep.
And
knowing your customer.
We call that either a customer persona or a customer avatar. Digitalmarketer.com has a fabulous worksheet on how to create a customer persona. Every once in a while I recommend it, because I'm actually very active in a number of e-commerce Facebook groups, not just the BigCommerce groups.
No, you're all the Austin Retail and E-commerce group.
That one's mine. I own that one.
There we go. Hey, plug. There we go. No, it's great. It's a lot of entrepreneurs are in there, and they always have a really great questions or comments or curiosity around what's going on in the world.
But what was I going to say? I've had people go in and I go, no, you really still need to create a business plan. You really need to create a persona. And they'll go, no, you don't have to go to all that trouble. It's like, yeah, you probably do. Yep. Because if you haven't done what they call a SWOT analysis, which is, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you need to know who you're going to serve, what gets them excited, what motivates them to take action. You need to know where they hang out, because all of that affects what products you aim for, what value propositions, because if your site can't answer the question, why should I buy here? Why do I want to buy your crap today from you?
Right.
That's called the unique value proposition. So that has to be based on who your target customers are. And all of that's the messaging that informs both what's written on your site and what you ultimately market with. So, and then you better have a budget for marketing. I mean, people, I saw one last week. I put up my site. I've gone in and done the SEO, which really means they've done meta descriptions.
Let's not.
And why
that is
am
a
I
rabbit hole that we'll be in and we'll never get out of.
But and they're like going, I Google my stuff, it's not showing up on the first page, and the site's 3 days old. I did it 2 days ago. What does it take to get my site found? And it's they haven't done their homework. And ultimately, a business plan gets you into the mindset to do your homework. Are you selling the right stuff? Who else is selling it? Are you competitive?
Yeah.
Do you have a product, especially if you're drop shipping from outside the US?
Which is very difficult right now.
It's impossible, because virtually nothing's shipping from China. And I'm not so sure, even as they're opening up that market, that anybody wants something that just came from China.
Right. We got something. We ordered something, I don't know, months and months ago, and it finally showed up. And we were ready to contact our credit card company and fight the charge and everything like that. And then as soon as we were about to get on the phone with them, right at the door, there's the package, and I was like, I ain't touching that thing. Hell no. So I went out there with like gloves and like rubber gloves up to my arms, and I like sprayed the whole thing with Lysol. I'm like, I don't know what this thing has on it,
Oh yeah, and then most Americans, Amazon has trained us quite well,
Yes.
And I'm in Austin, so a lot of the stuff I order with Prime shows up the same day or the next day. It's like I rarely have to wait 2 days, and if I have to wait 3 days, I'm getting antsy. And I'm actually going to write a nasty eBay review here shortly from somebody. Well, first of all, the product was DOA despite mark tested, but he didn't even ship it for 3 days. I mean, everybody's sitting at home. They're not that busy.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get it out the door to me for 3 days. So it arrived late, and I waited 10 days for something to ship from California. That's nuts. So, which brings up, the fourth pillar of e-commerce. Make sure your customer
fulfillment.
Make sure your customer service is amazing.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I'll buy it from Amazon.
Yes. I think I saw a meme about this, and it definitely made a lot of sense, because it was, it's like a reaction to, this is this Amazon seller versus this Amazon seller, and then this Amazon seller it was $29.99 for this product, and it was Prime, and then this thing was $24.99, and you would get it in 2 days, and the reaction to the Prime one was like, and then the other one was like, and it was like, come on, I mean. I'll wait the 2 days and not have to pay an extra, $10 really after it's all said and done to get this product. I mean, it's very silly, but I agree that Amazon has shoppers trained and in that belief system, but it's also an important model to think about, because as you're starting e-commerce, or even if you're continuing to run an e-commerce business nowadays, is that, and this is something I'd spoken about with our co-founder Brian, is that in the end, I think fulfillment and customer service and everything that goes along with in getting the package to somebody and making sure they're having a great experience with the product is really what's the future of e-commerce in general. Is that it's not necessarily about core site structure, it's not necessarily about marketing or SEO and or email or interstitials and loyalty programs, everything like that. It's getting the product to people when they want it, how they want it, and making sure that they are happy all the way through. Because I think the one thing that's often missed by e-commerce retailers, more so than anything else, and you can correct me if you think this is different, but we all have our own opinions, but I think what they miss often is lifetime value and lifetime duration. And it is the one metric that can make the difference between spending $50 to acquire a customer and spending $50 to acquire a customer for it to turn into $3,000 in revenue over the course of 2 years, as opposed to $50 and it's a one-time purchase and they'll never come back again.
Well, and that becomes a challenge, because I agree, probably one of the most important metrics or KPIs you should be looking at is lifetime customer value, and yet almost none of the shopping carts give that information.
Very hard.
It isn't easy to distill without a second program in there. We recommend Glue, but it's not priced for an entry-level store. Yep. If you're above, $500,000 a year, you probably should be using it, or you have a more advanced ERP or inventory management software that's giving you that information. Because, like you said, it really helps you define your marketing budget. It also, that whole, once you ship it, that isn't the time to forget your customer. And you're correct. It's support, but it's also user experience. I love to use Chewy as a great example of a company that has it mastered. If you look at their return policy, they don't really have one. It just says, we want you to be happy. And they empower their agents to do whatever is necessary to make the customer happy. And everybody's afraid of returns. I get it. And I actually have something on our blog where MIT did a study and showed that the customers who return often also often spend 4 times as much. in terms of their lifetime customer value. So, but you still have to manage it. You have to know who's returning. You have to know if it's being abused, because there are people you will cut off, and you won't. And that one of the brilliant aspects to Chewy's policy, in addition to making them look way more competitive. I mean, if I'm shopping and I know I have that peace of mind, that gives them an edge in terms of earning my business.
It does. It does.
But
no, my town, if somebody has a pet in this area, there's a Chewy box on their front porch every 1 to 3 months, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they've got it all, man. Good prices, great service, and the little handwritten thank you note in the box. I mean, this is one of those things that people don't think about, but they actually do impress the heck out of people. If you're selling something like cosmetics and you have access to some samples, throw those in the box. These are little bitty extras that don't happen with Amazon.
Right.
Where you can really point to a much richer experience. You could send out surveys to your best customers every so often. And this is where having a great email marketing platform where you can set up automations to create this and ask for their input. All of that tells your customers you actually care about them and what they want and what they need. And these things pan into loyalty. Yes. Which is how you build your customer lifetime value. So, and again, while email and now increasingly there's some other, social media is more about retention, branding, and keeping people engaged. It's generally not a first course unless you're doing paid advertising for driving new buyers. Email, it's retention marketing for the most part. Although these days with some of the better platforms, you can target your browsers if they've signed up. You could do
Gmail ads, for example. I know they've started introducing like more product related ads into Gmail. But I agree with you. It's 100% a retention tool. I'm not going to say, let's say 99% a retention tool, or anything like that.
Right.
I rarely ever have anything whether it's maybe sometimes a coupon offer, but even if it's in my inbox, it's only ever typically from somewhere I've been before. I've shopped before. I have at least looked at stuff and then left as a result. It's a remarketing ploy, so to speak.
Exactly. And I mean, even if I only went to a site and I signed up and I didn't make a purchase, I may go back. I mean, until I reach the point where I think I'm never going to shop there, then I delete, unsubscribe from that. I try not to mark things as spam that aren't, because it's unfair to the merchant. They end up with deliverability problems. But, I'll keep an email for a while, and it does put the brand in front of my face all the time. I haven't been as happy with text message marketing as a recipient.
I hate it. SMS, like push notifications. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not a big online shopper. I don't necessarily do a lot of online shopping myself. So I often peg the question within myself, like how can I potentially put myself in the shoes of the shopper and what they're experiencing? And I just, I use other people's experience as a result of that, but I also do my own homework. I do my own testing of how I would think that I would want to go shopping, and I want to do that. And I actually do it. Sure, to the chagrin of maybe, leaving a lot of abandoned carts here and there and everything like that. But it allows me to develop an understanding of what I think the shopper is going to be experiencing at this point.
Well, and you bring up a really, really big point. As a store owner, you should think like your shoppers, but it's also really important to understand that you may not be your demographic.
Right.
And I actually see more issue with this with older store owners that are kind of in my age bracket, where they're still shopping mostly on desktop. It would never occur to them to place an order online or to download an app. And it's like, yeah, but your audience is really here. And what you can do, you ultimately need data. You need to know what your customer responds to.
Data-driven decisions.
And the only way to do that's to test that. And that's true for advertising. It's true in your email messaging. It certainly can be true. I mean, most smaller stores don't have enough traffic to do real multivariate or A/B testing
Yeah,
on their
it takes a ton
website.
of traffic. I mean, just like point that to everybody out there's watching. It takes a ton of traffic to do true A/B testing. You know, if you're getting 5,000 visitors a month, that's not a lot. That's not enough of a control group to determine what works versus another. Because typically, what happens is you do A/B testing. And you see there's a lot of A/B testing softwares out there, Optimizely, and
Google.
any of them. Yeah, Google. I mean, Google Optimize, same thing. But then what retailers and store owners do is they split the traffic 50-50, and then they get 50-50. They don't actually get a definable metric to say that, well, yes, this 50% works better than the other. No, you literally get, when you split it 50-50 with that much traffic, you're only getting 50% of the users are doing this and 50% of the users are doing this. So neither one of them is working, technically speaking, you know?
Right. But you can test your ads in your email and most of your marketing efforts.
Yes.
And again, you sort of need a decent audience, but I think the problem with website testing is 5,000 visitors a month is probably your minimum, but that's to the specific page you're testing. Mm-hmm. That's not your entire site. So and then the added risk to that is, okay, so maybe you're lucky and your very best selling product does get that kind of traffic or better. You may not want to risk a significant test on your best selling product.
Right. Or a substantial change. You said, you know, the store owner said that even if they don't do A/B testing, but they kind of in their own head do their own A/B testing and they don't rely on data enough to make an informed decision, they just make a drastic change to something, and then the next question is why didn't I get any sales as a result? Well, when you pushed up that last change, you there's no add to cart button anymore. You know?
We just ran into that exact scenario. Fortunately, we didn't screw it up, and it hadn't been taken live, but they were getting ready to launch a new version of their site, and noticed that there was no checkout button place. And they've had several different firms in their themes, so of course there's a little bit of finger pointing going on, trying to analyze who messed it up. But we weren't anywhere near the checkout, so I feel pretty good about that one. But there's at least 3 players that could have created that issue, and thank God it didn't go live without catching that.
See, that's another thing. So yesterday I was speaking with Robert Brand, who's the director of partnership and alliances over at JetRails, and they're a big enterprise to mid-enterprise e-commerce hosting company. They work with a lot of Magento stores, a large end open source platforms, you know, mission critical hosting, you know, and scalable hosting for the right size businesses. And one of the things that he pointed out, and what you just said just pinged it for me. Know who is accessing your site, who can access your site, what they're doing on your website, when bad code goes up, and things along those lines. I think there are many store owners that they forget that they've and we do it. We ask a store owner, please add us to your store. We'll provide support, this, something like that. We don't touch the store we don't ever do anything in the store unless they request that we do something specific. And at the maximum, we're talking about making sure their Google Analytics code is installed properly, right? Which is a snippet of code. We're not talking, and it's typically in like BigCommerce, for example. There's a WYSIWYG selection for that. There's a control panel to add that code and not touch anything else, not affect the template, not affect the right. Front end. Know who's on your website and what they're doing to it, you know. And I think a lot of stores, what they have this they add people to the store and they forget that they have access, and then they never remove them. They never take them out.
Yeah, that's a security problem.
Security flaw.
Well, the other thing is, and we're not seeing mass adoption, but we really should. We're starting to recommend people use rewind.io.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because number one, it does track all those changes, and you can do fractional recovery. We are beginning to see some of these SaaS stores with some hacks. We all thought they were hack proof. I got news for you. They're certainly less likely to get hacked than an open source platform, but
there's still a chance.
It's still happening.
Somebody's smart enough sitting here, you know, especially now with all that time on their hands, you know, I had spoken to a friend of mine not too long ago, and he and I can't get too deep into it, but he's a security specialist, but he said that more so than not, what they were finding was that the hackers or the DDoS or anything, like whoever was attacking, were just doing it for fun. It was just a
Right.
test to the fact, and it was a young guy in his home office in his basement, just doing it for fun, and he was doing it just because he knew he could do it, or if he didn't think he could do it, he tested the fact that he could do it, and he breached it. He breached through.
We had one site. The hack was malicious code. This one was the only one that was a real significant hack, and it was sending out porn. I mean, it was doing bad things.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was injected through the coupon box.
Oh, yep.
Which was, I mean, I'm not nerdy enough to have even assumed that was possible. But
they find any micro vulnerability, and it will always be in the least least suspected or least expected place, and that's the cleverness of the hacker, is that they want to put it where nobody would think to actually look.
Right. And so and I myself have made errors that were accidents that would have made the rewind super helpful. We redid a website last summer, and I accidentally deleted 35 press releases pages.
We're only human.
Oh man, well, and they spanned quite a bit of time. I got lucky. Google keeps cached copies of pages. So while I manually had to recreate every single page and make sure the URL was the same, that was about 4 hours of my time.
You did it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I owed it to the customer. It was my mistake. Hard. And I certainly didn't want them to know I did it.
Right. Yeah. But sometimes admitting that, it's okay to admit that we make mistakes. We're only human. And then it's a matter of working that much harder to make sure that we were helping our customers and we're helping our people.
Right. And people don't realize that if they're on the SaaS carts, they back up their code. They're not backing up your theme, and they're not backing up your data.
Right.
So, and again, I really like the fractional rollback because, for example, if you're on WordPress, you can roll back to your last good copy, but then you overwrite everything you've changed since. And sometimes you just want, like if you've added products, you don't want to lose the products you've added. You just want to fix the darn press releases you just deleted. So
yeah, right. We're not talking like a Git repository. We're not, it's not so like control where you have this off-site, code storage and backup files and everything like that. I know we develop most, like our store and our site and everything we do is mostly entirely in raw code. I don't use a platform or anything like that. And it gives us control because I have backup files. My team has backup files, and this is not an e-commerce website. This is our website, right? And everybody the right people on our team have the backup files. So if something were to go wrong, I can always say, hey, please push up your code. I'm going to back mine out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's certainly incredibly important. Yeah, no doubt. The security, taking care of your website, making sure people can't get into it that shouldn't be getting into it. I mean, this would be like a no-brainer,
And I think we've touched on all the things that are real easy to overlook today,
No, I think we've covered everything. I think this is probably the most informative session that I've gotten to have thus far. I've gotten to talk to my team, and they share a lot of great insight about advertising, managing advertising, customer experience to a certain degree, of course. Talking to Robert yesterday, again, a lot about security, hosting, important things to be taken in the infrastructure of a website. But we've really kind of hit every note, in my opinion, and I couldn't agree. I think it's a perfect note to kind of end on at this point. And I thank you so much for joining me, Laurie. This has been a wonderful conversation. I'm really excited. I'm excited. I'm going to get to share this out with everybody in the BigCommerce community and our customers and our users and everybody else. Now, Laurie, you have a special program going on that you brought up to me just before we hopped on. That you're doing a startup package for e-commerce business, or at least people that are looking to get into the e-commerce realm, right?
Right. Well, so the package we launched yesterday is on BigCommerce, but the goal, it's for brand new store owners or those who are just really beginning to move online, or maybe they made, a minimal, they set up a Wix site. and it's not really designed for
Right. They
e-commerce.
didn't realize they couldn't market their products properly.
Yeah, we were able to partner with quite a few of our software vendors to offer some special pricing and packaging to help people be fully equipped to go online. And if you've got inventory and you're not selling, it's a really scary time. So really what we're trying to do is to help out the smaller merchants who need to do it. They just need to do it. They've been thinking about it for a while. They've been too busy. It hasn't happened. It's like, let us make this quick and easy for you and as close to painless as possible. Hopefully in the next few days, we'll be talking about some things that we can offer existing store owners to improve their current websites and service offerings. In the meantime, that doesn't have to be formal, and those tend to be more personalized anyway.
Well, no, of course. I mean, you and
reach out to us.
We're here. You and I are both in the BigCommerce community. I know that you and I are working together. Everybody out there, Laurie and I, if whatever you need from us, whatever you might need from Laurie, I mean, we're here. We're here to help. Again, I am Laurie, but we're a people-first company. We want people. We want ourselves, our people, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, everybody to be successful, and that's what we're really trying to drive here. So we're really in the business of helping people, because companies, businesses, they're built of people. There might be technology, there might be software, there might be all of these things, but in the end, it's people, and it's people that run these companies.
Right, and we're getting ready to. I mean, I've always done site critiques where I have time. And I generally do. I mean, you can pay me to do it but my standard offer when I have the time to do it is we'll do it for free. But now I'm filming them, and so I need to get them up on YouTube. But the goal there is to provide, for the person who's too shy to let me publicly critique their site, they can go and take a look at what others have done and what can be better. And I think that becomes. That it better enables them to take a critical eye to their own site and see what changes that they should probably consider implementing. So
awesome. Well, I can't wait to see those. I'm going to be sharing all that information down in the description below, sharing a link to Laurie's website, share it to the special offer page. Can't wait to get those live critiques going. I'm definitely going to share those out with everybody, get to see those. I'm sure you're going to share them in the BigCommerce community. It will be certainly a great help to everybody. Laurie, I have had a wonderful day. I've had a wonderful time talking to you. Thank you so much for joining today. Everybody, Laurie Appleman, big proponent in the BigCommerce community. I know you just got a huge shout out yesterday as well. I have to share that while we're talking. I'm definitely going to share the awesome shout out that you got in the BigCommerce community. I mean, this woman is a powerhouse marketer, a powerhouse web designer, developer. She runs an incredible team, a real great knock-up shop here. And again, if anybody has any questions, if you're in the BigCommerce community, if you're in any community, just reach out. Let us know if you need any help or need anything.
I was going to say, I think I'm active in at least 6 e-commerce groups of various platforms, as well as some of the general groups in the Austin startup community. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make sure everybody can find you and everything along those lines. All right.
Terrific. All right.
All right. Everybody, y'all have a wonderful afternoon, evening, day, time, wherever you are. Laurie, you too as well. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Anytime. I'm so excited. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Oy.
And done.